Born in the ashes. Elena Ruiz was born in a small coastal town in the Philippines called Puerto Sombra, a place where the scent of salt hung heavy in the air and hope rarely survived. Cracked walls, leaking roofs, hungry children, abandoned dreams, this was the world Elena grew up in. Her mother, Lucia, worked at the break of dawn cleaning fishing nets and spent her evenings selling whatever seafood she could gather in the local market. Her father, a habitual drinker, drifted in and out of their lives, leaving behind empty bottles, broken promises, and bruised silences. But Elena. She was quiet. Her eyes were deep, too deep for a child, as if suffering had carved them into adulthood before time. By 13, she already understood that life was not fair, and kindness was a luxury her world could not afford. And perhaps that is why she repeated to herself. Poor people don't suffer because they lack money. They suffer because they lack someone to stand with them. One night, a violent storm crashed over Puerto Sombra. Waves rose like monsters. Houses trembled. Roads cracked under the force of water. And in that chaos, Elena lost the only person she ever had, her mother. Lucia was returning from the market when a broken bridge collapsed under the flood. The sea took her before anyone could reach her. Some said she drowned instantly, others said she fought until her last breath. For Elena, the moment she heard the news, everything inside her collapsed. Her chest tightened, her mind froze, and her childhood died in one silent scream she could never release. That night, a part of her broke forever. But another part, something fierce and silent, was born. After her mother's death, her father sank deeper into alcoholism. He became violent, unpredictable, and colder than before. Elena often slept hungry, terrified, and alone. She knocked on neighbors' doors, begging for help. But all she heard was, "It's your family matter, we can't interfere." In towns like Puerto Sombra, people watch suffering, but rarely stop it. At 15, Elena worked odd jobs, cleaned houses, washed dishes, and tried to survive. The world showed her no mercy. But every night, she looked at the sky and whispered, "Someday. I'll go far from here. Someday. I'll prove I deserved better." A fire had begun inside her. Slow, steady, and unstoppable. Elena's life changed the moment she started working in a small seaside cafe. That's where she met him. A young American man walked in one afternoon. Tall, brown-haired, soft-eyed. Someone who looked like he carried peace in his pockets. His name was Daniel Hayes. He was in the Philippines for a cultural photography project. Daniel noticed Elena immediately, not because of her beauty, but because of her silence. Her expression held a story deeper than the sea outside. One day he asked, "Why do your eyes look like you're carrying the weight of the world?" Elena paused. Then whispered, "Because I am." He didn't ask her to explain. He didn't push for details. He simply said, "You don't have to stay in the place that broke you." Those words sank deep into her heart. Gentle, but powerful. For the first time, someone saw her pain, and didn't walk away. Daniel visited the cafe almost every day. Elena served him coffee. Daniel left her small sketches of boats, sunsets, and waves. Elena began to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Seen, valued, alive. He encouraged her to improve her English. To take small online courses. To believe in herself. Elena found comfort in Daniel's presence. He was not a savior, not a dream. He was simply someone who made her feel human. But Elena knew her heart was fragile, wounded. She refused to let herself fall for him. She had nothing to give, no future to offer. Yet every time he smiled at her, a part of her heart softened. The goodbye that hurt more than life. One evening, Daniel came to the cafe with a gentle sadness in his eyes. "I'm leaving tomorrow, back to New York." Elena felt something crack inside her chest. But she kept her face calm, emotionless. The only shield she had left. Daniel touched her hand lightly. "You deserve a bigger life, Elena. If you ever come to the U.S., find me at Hayes Foundation." He left a small card on the table. A simple card. But for Elena, it was the first doorway she had ever been offered. Watching him walk away felt like losing something precious. Something she never even got to have. Months passed. Elena worked like fire. Extra cleaning shifts, late-night jobs, saving every peso she could. Her hands bled. Her eyes burned. But she pushed on. One night, staring at her reflection. Tired, hollow, but determined. She whispered. "If I stay, I will die here. If I leave, I might live." She took all her savings, went to Manila Airport. And bought a ticket. Manila, New York. Her heart trembled with fear. Her future was uncertain. But she refused to look back. New York doesn't welcome everyone. Especially girls like her. When Elena stepped out of JFK Airport, New York felt like another planet. Cold winds, rushing people, giant towers swallowing the sky. She expected excitement. Instead, she felt invisible again. No one smiled. No one cared. Everyone was in a hurry. She clutched her small bag tightly. The only thing she owned. Daniel's card was in her pocket. But she didn't go to him. She wasn't ready. Not like this. Elena rented a small shared room in Queens. A cracked window, old mattress, and 4 other girls from different countries trying to survive just like her. Work was harder to find than she imagined. Her English wasn't perfect. Her clothes were simple. Her confidence was weak. Many cafes rejected her. Some men stared at her like she was prey. Some women ignored her existence. For the first time since coming to New York, she cried herself to sleep. But the next morning, she got up and said, "I didn't cross the ocean to quit." Elena finally found work at a small bakery. The owner, Mrs. Harper, seemed kind at first. But soon revealed her true nature. She overworked Elena, paid her less, insulted her accent, and threatened to fire her whenever she pleased. One night, after a 13-hour shift, Elena overheard her saying, "These immigrant girls, they work like slaves. They're too scared to leave." Elena felt her chest burn with humiliation. She quit the next morning. No plan. No job. Just dignity. With no job, no money, and rent due. Elena's life spun into crisis. A man outside a train station offered her work. "Easy money," he said. The look in his eyes made her step back. Another man told her she could stay with him until she got stable. Elena ran. She realized something chilling. New York doesn't break you with storms. It breaks you softly, silently. One cold evening, when Elena was standing near a bus stop shivering, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Elena." She turned. It was Daniel Hayes. He looked shocked and concerned, seeing her condition. "What are you doing here alone? Why didn't you call me?" Elena's eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. "Because I didn't want you to see me like this." Daniel stepped closer, his voice soft. "You crossed the world. You're stronger than you think. Come with me. I'm not letting you struggle alone." For the first time in months, Elena felt warmth. Not safety. Not love. Just the warmth of someone who genuinely cared. A warm room, a heavy heart. Daniel took Elena to a quiet neighborhood in Brooklyn, a clean, warm apartment with books on every shelf and soft light falling through the curtains. The moment Elena stepped inside, she felt something unfamiliar. Safety. She had not felt that in years. Daniel offered her a cup of tea. Her cold fingers trembled around the warm mug. He studied her face for a moment, the exhaustion, the fear, the loneliness. Elena, what you've gone through, no one should go through that alone. Elena looked down, ashamed. I came here hoping to be someone. But all I've done is fail. Daniel walked closer, voice low. You didn't fail. New York fails people like you, people who deserve better. But you're here now, and as long as you're here, you're not alone. Those words hit her harder than any storm ever had. A gentle tension. Elena stayed at Daniel's place only temporarily, he insisted it was, just until she stabilized. But those few days changed something in both of them. He helped her rehearse English. He taught her small things, how to read contracts, how to use certain apps, how to understand job listings. She felt comfortable around him, maybe too comfortable. Every time he looked at her, something stirred in her chest. A warmth she hadn't allowed herself in years. But she pushed it down, hard. Because Elena knew one truth. When life gives you something beautiful, it always takes it away later. Her first real opportunity. Daniel introduced her to a nonprofit that helped immigrant women find safe jobs. There, Elena met Maya Torres, a Filipino-American who reminded her of her mother. Strong, sharp, kind. Maya placed Elena in a receptionist job at a small tech startup. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't perfect. But it was honest work. And the pay was enough to survive. For the first time in her life, Elena wore clean clothes, took a train to an office, answered calls, and felt like a real adult. She was still poor. Still fragile. But every day, something inside her began to rebuild. A painful distance. As Elena's life stabilized, she began distancing herself from Daniel. Not because she wanted to. But because she feared needing him too much. Whenever he texted, "Are you doing okay?" she replied with short answers. Whenever he offered dinner, "I'm busy tonight." Daniel didn't push her, but he felt the distance. And one evening, he asked her gently, "Why are you pulling away?" Elena's voice cracked. "Because people don't stay. If I rely on you, and you leave, I won't survive it." Daniel stood silent for a long moment. Then he said, "I'm not asking you to fall in love with me, Elena. I'm asking you not to disappear." Her heart ached, but she said nothing. She walked away. And Daniel watched her go, confused and hurt. The man who tried to break her. At her new job, the CEO's son, Caleb Wright, noticed her. He was charming on the outside. Smiling, clean-cut, confident. The kind of man who thought he owned every room he walked into. At first, he was polite. But soon. Flirty looks. Uncomfortable compliments. Lingering touches on her shoulder. Elena hated it. She knew this type of man. She grew up around this type of danger. One evening, he cornered her near the elevator. "Have dinner with me." Elena stepped back. "No. I'm not interested." His smile faded instantly. "Women like you don't say no. Remember who pays your salary." Elena froze. She needed this job. Her visa. Her rent. Her survival. But she refused to bow down. She pushed his hand away and walked off, shaking with anger and fear. That night, she cried again, silently. Not because of Caleb. But because no matter where she went, The world always reminded her. You are still the girl from Porto Sombra. The first spark of revenge. The next morning, Caleb filed a fake complaint against her, claiming she was unprofessional and disrespectful. The company didn't fire her. But her hours were cut. She earned less. Suffered more. And Caleb walked around the office with his smirk. Elena burned inside. Her fists tightened. Her jaw clenched. Her chest filled with the same fire she once felt the night her mother died. One day, men like him will kneel before women like me. This was her first conscious thought of revenge. Not against Caleb alone. But against poverty, men who abused their power, the world that stepped on girls like her. That day, Elena Ruiz stopped being a survivor. And started becoming a fighter. Daniel finds out. Maya told Daniel what happened. Daniel's face darkened. A mix of anger, worry, and something deeper. He went straight to Elena. Why didn't you tell me? Elena's voice was cold, tired. Because I handle my own battles. Daniel stepped closer, eyes intense. Some battles aren't meant to be fought alone. Elena snapped. I don't want to depend on you. A long silence. Then Daniel said softly. Depending on someone isn't weakness, Elena. Her eyes glistened. It is for people like me. Daniel closed his eyes. And in that moment, he realized. Elena didn't reject him out of pride. She rejected him out of fear. The first step toward becoming a billionaire. Her anger became fuel. Her humiliation became strategy. Instead of quitting, Elena began learning everything in the office. How tech companies worked. How products were built. How sales pipelines operated. How investors thought. How data was stored. How market trends shifted. Every night she went home and studied. Marketing. Finance. Product design. AI basics. Coding fundamentals. She sat in free libraries for hours. She watched CEOs talk. She listened to podcasts. She read books she barely understood at first. And slowly, pain turned into knowledge. Knowledge turned into vision. Vision turned into hunger. Her first business idea took shape the night she whispered to herself. If men like Caleb can own companies, why can't a girl like me build an empire? Her eyes hardened. Her heart strengthened. For the first time, Elena Ruiz saw not who she was, but who she could become.